Welcome everyone to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today I've got something very special for you. We have got spawning on the west side of the map playing in blue, we've got Aussie Drongo playing as the Byzantines, and his opponent on the east side of the map playing in red, we've got sortof playing as the Japanese. Welcome everyone to Himeyama. That is the map for today, featuring two brand new civilizations in Age of Empires 4, and I'd say probably the two most popular civilizations at the moment because they've been played a lot. And hey, I'm not complaining. I love these two civilizations, especially when you get to see Aussie Drongo and sortof playing it out, battling out. The Australian versus the Swede on Himeyama. I'm kind of excited for this one because I feel like the Byzantines, they have this dual personality at the moment. And it does feel like their strategies are very much telegraphed with the landmarks they choose, as with all the civilizations, but I think with the Byzantines, it's a little bit more so. They've got the Imperial Hippodrome, that can get the cavalry, got some unique upgrades, which is kind of quite nice. Gets a triumph ability, and I think can be really strong for cavalry play. But they do also get the Grand Winery, which increases the olive oil kind of gathering from berries and olive groves alike. That can be very nice to get mercenaries and can confuse their opponent in terms of what units they're actually going for, you know, because there's a whole host of units they can go for. They can go for longbows. If they go for the Western mercenary contract, they can go for Keshiks. If they go for the Eastern cost of the contract. And to be honest with you, I never hardly ever see the Silk Road one. That I've forgotten what units they get, but we'll check that in a second as time goes on. Once he does get the first mercenary house, I guess. Now what's interesting is to see Aussie Drongo getting a house there that will actually potentially give him extra vision if he does get border settlements. I mean, you're not going to invest in that this early, but maybe in later stages of the game. Now I would love to hear from you guys, especially on YouTube comments and also on the Twitch chat. I'm actually casting this live, by the way, so if you don't necessarily see me on Twitch, you might want to drop a follow. Maybe next time on live you'll catch a live stream. I don't stream that often, but hopefully I will continue to do it a bit more often. But what I would love to hear from you guys is, what's the favourite civilization that you have at the moment that you'd love to watch and see? For me at the moment, I gotta say it's the Japanese. They've got lots of things going for them. Free farms, and also the fact they can upgrade their town centre. It makes a really nice one town centre play. As I say that though, we have seen some games recently from players like Wham going for a 2 town centre play with the Japanese, which really confuses things compared to what we've been seeing recently. So I think the tricky part for the Byzantines is actually, if they do come against a 2 town centre Japanese, is how do they react to that, really? Because they may have to just add a second town centre to themselves and maybe look to be a bit aggressive. The trouble is the Grand Winery doesn't necessarily allow them to be that aggressive. So I'm pretty excited to see what Aussie Drongo decides to do against a Japanese that are going to go up with the Cura storehouse. So no shinobi here today. The one little, I guess, down I would say with the Japanese, although I do love this civilization a lot, I guess I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that the shinobi are locked behind a landmark. I mean, it would be kind of nice if those shinobi could be produced from a barracks or something. But alas, we won't be seeing any shinobi today, and it will be the Cura storehouse. Okay, well, Aussie Drongo are going to go up with the Imperial Hippodrome, and I actually really like this landmark. It's not a landmark we see all that often with the Byzantines, but the reason why I like it is because it does have some really strong, unique abilities and actually upgrades. There's one in particular that can actually increase the attack on horsemen versus villagers by +2, but also gathers a 20 gold bounty, if you will, by killing villagers. And so if you're looking to be aggressive as the Byzantines and you want to do some damage in the form of raiding, getting those upgrades can be really strong, especially if you're going to use horsemen early on, because each villager you kill, you get an extra 20 gold. To be fair, you're going to have to invest quite a bit in that technology in the first place, so it might be a bit more of a late game kind of push and a good bit of eco boost for that. But I think I would love to see a lot more of the Imperial Hippodrome. I think it's got some good timings with it, and especially if the Japanese are playing a bit more passively with a Cura storehouse, it could be a way in this matchup. I have seen a lot of Japanese wins against the Byzantines, so I'm pretty excited to see what Aussie Drongo can do today. Because the Japanese, they have this kind of weird timing where it's sort of like 15-20 minute mark, where they can really pack a punch. And I think a lot of it's down to the fact they get free farms. Now, each farm would usually cost 75 wood. That's a lot of wood, guys. You just need 2 farms, and that could be a production building. So the wood that the Japanese is saving on the farms, they can pump out into production buildings and units. And so I feel like it's a really nice bonus that they get. Not only that, until they get to that position, they can play a very condensed economy. Obviously, they can save the sheep for a rainy day, especially because of the fact that the farmhouses acts as kind of like a mill, a drop-off point for food. But more importantly, because he's going to get that second kind of mini wheelbarrow, I like to call it, increasing the gather speed of villagers on the berries, increasing the capacity and the movement speed as well. It means that they can rely on berries as a really good source of food early on. And you can just see the delay, right? He's just gathering sheep as much as he possibly can. And I think in many ways it's really strong because with the Japanese, it feels like they do what the Abbasid dynasties and Delhi do, but a little bit better. The fact that they gather the berries a bit quicker than them, with those upgrades, of course. But not only that, the fact that they get the free farms, it means that the transition to sheep is even more delayed. Like if you thought as playing as the Delhi and the Abbasids that you didn't need to take your sheep for ages, well, factor in the Japanese, they get the berries and then they get the farms. It means those sheep really last for a very long time. Okay, we do see the Eastern Mercenary contract coming out for Aussie Drongo, so it's going to go up with a couple of Keshiks. Now I think with the Imperial Hippodrome, adding in Keshiks and Horsemen together, I think it's really nice for raiding for sure, and it's going to be getting those units pretty quickly. It does have I think he just commissioned a couple of Keshiks there with the olive oil, right? Took in a couple of the berries for that olive oil, and it's going to be dropping an archery range as well. So if you think about it, he's effectively got a stable, an archery range, and a mercenary house within 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes almost. And he should be able to get across the map. And the question is whether sortof is prepared, and he kind of is, really. He's got a lot of production. He's got the Yumi Ashigaru, the archer version unit for the Japanese. Does have a spearman as well, and he should be fine at defending against this. He's actually got it scouted out as well, so he'd be happy seeing that. He'll know exactly what's coming his way. Does have a little bit of stone coming in, sort of. Maybe look to get that Daimyo Manor upgrade, or Daimyo Palace upgrade, I should say. It's actually already at the Daimyo Manor, rather. So that's actually going to be increasing the gather speed of these farms by 25%. The Daimyo Palace, that's going to be another... That's going to be 50% on with that farm harvest rate. And that's going to be really, really strong. It's going to be getting that second water level. Aussie Drongo here with the Byzantines, with their cistern connecting up with the aqueducts. That'll be a bit of a nice bit of boost on the villagers. Currently getting 5% gather speed increase on these ones here, but we'll be increasing that to 10% when the water level does reach level 2. Now this is where things become interesting for the Byzantines with the Keshiks. Becomes a bit difficult for sortof and the Japanese. They're going to have to play kind of a bit within their shell. Obviously he's got infantry, so can't really venture out. The Japanese in many ways reminds me of the English, playing a very condensed economy. They need to build a bit of a force before they can head out, otherwise they get caught and then it's a bit of a disaster. And at this stage, kind of the Byzantines, certainly ones that are being aggressive here, Aussie Drongo. Maybe look to attack that wood line around the back. You'll need to get there first. Looks like sort of going to try and cut that off with the Yumi Ashigaru, but might be okay tanking this here, Aussie Drongo. Doesn't have any of the blacksmith upgrades just yet, but you can see that he's just got the Expilatores up, that upgrade, and I believe that's the one for the raiding bounty. It is actually. So yeah, for every villager he kills with horsemen, he's going to get a bit of gold trickle. He's not going to get to that position yet. Going to dive in with a couple of Keshiks. Yumi Ashigaru in good numbers though. I think Aussie Drongo has to back away. And the great thing about the archers though, the Yumi Ashigaru for the Japanese, they do have a very fast movement speed, 1.38, so they can kind of keep up for a while. But he's going to back away now, Aussie Drongo. Oh, maybe not. He's going to lose a couple of units there, I'm afraid. Loses the archers first, and then maybe the horsemen. Bit of an oversight, but the good thing for these units, he does have that ability from the Hippodrome. The Triumph ability, that will be healing up those units a little bit. Does increase the damage of the cavalry by 25% and the movement speed by plus 10%. So if you think about it, having that movement speed and the increased damage, and if you add in the fact that he's got the plus 2 against villagers, these horsemen are going to become the ultimate raiding unit. Dead on even with the villager counts, and things could get spicy quite quickly. Sortof keeping a scout, he's always keeping an eye on what's happening. Doesn't see what's happening in the south just yet, but probably anticipating it. Gonna have to transition to another wood line. That wood at the back has been taken. The trouble with the sortof is quite exposed, right? It's quite an open map on Himeyama, and it really suits the cavalry player in that sense. Drongo coming in from the south. Well, he's holding off for now. Alright, so he's going to extend that aqueduct system to a level 3 now. Going to be extending that wood line elsewhere, I think. Fairly soon. Going to get a blacksmith. I would love to see Ananda Mesh. I think it's a really important upgrade for Aussie Drongo at this point. Whilst he does have a lot of archers, he wants to protect those horsemen against the town centre fire. Especially because there is another arrow slits coming in for the Daimyo Manor. And that's actually something that really favors the Japanese in holding this position, because he does have double the arrows coming out, right? 9 times 2 right there. Gonna try and torch down that forge if he can, but it's, yeah, probably not a great fight for Aussie Drongo at this point. Not until he's got his upgrade. Don't think he has any acute yet from his blacksmith. Now, sort of. We talked about how the Japanese can really start to build up military numbers. Interestingly enough, he's going to go for a second town centre. Wants to get a bit of an eco boost now that he feels confident in defending with his army. But I'm not so sure. This does actually give a window of opportunity here for Aussie Drongo. Like, if Aussie Drongo stays on one town centre, continues to pump out more military, which it seems like he's going to do, it doesn't really see there's any sort of indication him aiming for that castle age. He might go for a really strong feudal age push. In this second town centre, it will take time for it to pay itself back. It's a lot of resources, and it's going to have double the villager production, which the villagers will have to pay themselves back as well. This could be a really interesting, fascinating period of the game, the next 10 minutes, I think. Could be a very decisive 10 minutes. I think if that second town centre goes unpunished for the next 10 minutes, that gives sort of a good position. However, if Aussie Drongo decides to punish him and does so, and manages to do it, then obviously, sort of will be in a bit of trouble. It's going to be heading in north with a couple of the Yumi Ashigaru just to see what value he can get, but Aussie Drongo, he is wise to the ruse, has walled up a little bit. Playing this relatively passively though. He's respecting the unit numbers that sort of has. I'm not so sure if he's aware of that second town centre yet. It feels like Aussie Drongo is actually thinking about the castle age. He's heading back home, looking to defend. He's got the water level 5. This is really great for his economy. Increasing the gather speed by 25%, by the way. Holy moly. Now, if you think about it, that cistern level's actually boosted up the villagers. They're almost like dragon villagers at this point. Mike holding this back. Can we keep that horseman alive? This is actually really important because he could use the triumph ability on that. And if he does, that could be really strong. Wait, has he done it? He hasn't just yet. I gotta say though, the unit production here for sortof is absolutely crazy. They produce so fast, these Yumi Ashigaru. They're cheaper. Not only that, they actually get produced in 13 seconds, I believe. There it is, yeah, 1-3. But behind this, Drongo's going to go up with the Golden Horn Tower. Going to be getting those free mercenary units. And he might be looking to put a bit of a pressure in the early castle age here. Could be an option. Got to be careful though. Sortof is walling up, so he's going to be prepared for it at least. Sortof though, kind of nowhere near that castle age himself. It looks like he's going to be staying in the feudal age for quite some time. But he does have a large number of units. The question is, what does it unlock for Drongo? It does unlock the veterancy upgrades for the Keshiks and the horsemen, which I think it will actually probably do. Might look to add in a couple of Varangian guards, because the Varangian guards will be difficult for the Japanese to take care of, right? It does have a decent number of Yumi Ashigaru, but it just feels like they're not going to be able to deal with the Varangian guards if they get a good number of them. Could even potentially think about cataphracts, but they're very expensive units, but they're incredibly beefy. Right, so there's a bit of a question in chat. How does the Hippodrome heal work exactly? So they've got the Triumph ability. It has supply points, by the way. So you can, like, he's got 17 supply points at the moment. So you can increase the cavalry damage by 25%, increase the movement speed by 10%, and health generation by 2. But it only lasts for a certain period of time. So it depends on how much supply points you have. Each supply point increases the Triumph duration by 1.5 seconds. But you can get a maximum of 40, which is quite a lot, to be honest. But I think the Triumph ability could have an option to be used in a really critical moment in a big fight. And if you can bank them up and build them up and take one critical fight, which is probably about to come pretty soon, I would imagine, that could really turn a tide of a fight. And I'm excited to see if it works out for him. He's getting the veterancy upgrades for the archers and getting the veterancy for the contract. So that will be increasing the tech up for the Keshiks in particular in the south. Oh, a scout just spotting out the villagers on deer. Now, this is something that sort of might look to punish, actually. Sending a couple of Yumi Ashigaru there quickly. Of course, I'm sure Aussie Drongo... Okay, that's a bit of an overkill chasing there. Would do well just to maybe send a horseman, rather than the whole cavalry. Might be getting baited a little bit here. Oh, wait. Might get a block in there, the scout. Yeah, the scout is blocked, and Aussie Drongo will be fine with that. Can deal with that nicely, but gotta be careful. The Yumi Ashigaru got tipped off, of course. Does keep a couple of archers there. Veteran archers, by the way. Drongo playing this relatively passive, but if he attacks soon... I think this is smart, though, because in a way, he's waiting for all his upgrades. What he might look to do is just wait for sortof to get to that castle age and then go. Because when your opponent does go for their next stage up, in generally in RTS games, that's when they're most vulnerable. Because they've just spent a lot of resources, right? So he's just spent 1,200 food, 600 gold on that floating gate, and he won't have the tech up for a little while. But more importantly, once he does get tech up and the notification is given to Aussie Drongo, it takes time for the veterancy upgrades to come in. And there is that small window of opportunity then for Drongo to push in. Might be just waiting for it. Get survival techniques as well, just to make that food income just a little bit quicker. Does have a bit of stone and food and gold in the bank. Could do well to spend that a little bit more if he's going to go for a big push in. Question is whether he adds in a couple of Cairo siphons as well. Siege is always important, but we do see the cataphract. Now, I love this unit for more reasons than one, because it actually has that amazing trample ability. And the reason why I think it's so good is because, okay, you can break through infantry lines, but more importantly, if your opponent has siege on the back line like mangonels and you have a very infantry-based army, these guys can literally trample their way through right to that siege and take out the siege in a snipe. And these guys are pretty tanky. 360 HP, they're pretty expensive, 27 sword melee damage. They are premium units, ladies and gents. Make no mistake about it. And he's going to break his way through. And the Keshiks obviously healing themselves up by damaging the walls. And it's going to break through the second... I mean, that second layer of wall won't go up quick enough, I don't think. He's going to ride in. Drongo, he smells blood, and he's up against, well, effectively feud-age units, right? These units aren't upgraded to the veteran status. He's diving in on that stone mine, and the trouble is those spearmen are getting a good approach on the attack. It's difficult for Drongo to really push in. He's going to get oh, holy moly, he's going to get a lot of villager kills here. Sort of. He did have a second town center, but those villager count is going to be dropping. He's got the veteran archers versus Yumi Ashigaru. He's got to be careful here, Drongo, not to engage with the spearmen against his cavalry. He does engage. I was going to get a wraparound. He might just go right through. He's trampling through. He wants to dive on top of the Yumi Ashigaru, and he does just that. The archers for Drongo going to pick apart the spearmen. The spearman numbers not looking healthy. The veterancy upgrades does come in, but it might be too little too late. Sort of taking the fight, and maybe at the worst possible time. Veterancy upgrades for the Yumi Ashigaru, maybe not enough. Veteran archers still looking healthy numbers, and the cavalry. There's still a couple of cataphracts there, and the Keshiks going to be ripping through the Yumi Ashigaru, and sort of got caught at the worst possible time. Aussie Drongo timed it to a T, getting the Onamusha out as well here, the Japanese, but it might not be enough. The cavalry going to dive in that town center. He's not going to be worried at all about that daimyo banner. The daimyo banner is not going to be enough, and yeah, this is looking dicey for sort of. It just feels like there's too much cavalry, and he might deal with it in the end, but he's taking heavy losses. It's down to 66 villages, which is not too bad, to be fair. Still ahead of Drongo in that regard, but he's being overrun. Military, Drongo is going to send even more. And those Keshiks, oh, there's a bit of cataphracts there left behind. They need to add into that fight, but that's a lot of idle time in this economy. 23 villages versus 67, and Drongo going to start raiding those farms. There's just not enough military here for the Japanese. Everything that pops out from the archery ranges and the barracks get almost immediately sniped, and Drongo going to head in even more with more units. Those villagers having to garrison inside the Cura storehouse. How's Drongo does it? Has he actually slayed a dragon? In sort of. Is he going to be taking the game? Could possibly do. Gold villagers are going to have to back away. But an absolute huge raid. And he's going to head in with more cataphracts. Villagers scrambling for their lives. Going to try and garrison where they can, but there's not enough space in the town centre. All that Cura storehouse and the cataphracts, they are looking beefy. And he's used the triumph ability. You can see the healing of the cataphracts. He's diving right in, and that's a massive, terrible loss of villagers there for sort of. Going to be trying to build a market to try and equalise that economy. But he is now down to 58 economy, down to 6 military. A massive horde of the Byzantine army raid in, and I don't think there's a way for sort of to get back into the game. He's just lost so much, and he continues to do so. He taps out, and Drongo, he takes the game with a masterclass on Byzantines versus the Japanese. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast of the game. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Take care, and see you next time.